Greetings to the conference organizers and delegates. My presentation is titled Integrating ICD-10 and Drug Utilization Data for ARIMA-Based Forecasting of Pharmaceutical Demand in Chronic and Metabolic Diseases. This study focuses on how routinely collected hospital data can be used as real-world evidence to support medicine planning. I will highlight the problem, the analytic workflow, the main forecasting signals, and the implications for digital health, medicine safety, and adaptive formulary management. The starting point of this study is the changing disease burden in Vietnamese hospitals. Chronic and metabolic diseases, especially diabetes, hypertension, and cardiovascular conditions, are becoming more prominent. These conditions require continuous pharmacological treatment, so medicine availability and refill continuity are important for patient safety. However, hospital data are often used in separate systems. ICD-10 codes tell us what patients are diagnosed with, while drug utilization records show what medicines are actually used. Our research aim was to integrate these two data sources to obtain a more practical view of pharmaceutical demand. We conducted a retrospective analysis at hospital-wide using health insurance patient data from December 2023 to January 2024. The analysis used two parallel data streams from the hospital information system. The first was ICD-10 diagnostic data, grouped by disease chapters. The second was drug utilization data, grouped by pharmacological action. Weekly aggregated data were analyzed using ARIMA time series forecasting. Model performance was checked using R-squared, RMSE, and MAPE. Finally, we compared the disease-based and drug use-based signals to assess whether they pointed to similar chronic and metabolic care needs. The first result comes from the ICD-10 based forecasting model. Overall, most disease chapters were forecasted to remain stable or decrease during the short observation period. For chronic and metabolic care, the important point is that endocrine, nutritional, and metabolic diseases remain stable. Circulatory system diseases were also stable. Although these trends were not statistically significant, they provide a supportive diagnostic signal that diabetes-related and cardiovascular conditions continued to represent a persistent component of hospital service demand. The second result is based on drug utilization. Here, the model gave an operational view of medicine demand. Cardiovascular drugs and diuretics showed increasing signals, which is consistent with continuing needs in chronic cardiovascular care and comorbidity management. Several groups, including hormones and endocrine-related medicines, gastrointestinal drugs, and vitamins or minerals, remained relatively stable. This finding complements the ICD-10 result because drug use data reflect actual treatment activity and medicine consumption, not only diagnostic counts. In the 2023 comparison, the two approaches showed a high level of concordance. The leading conditions included unspecified diabetes mellitus, essential hypertension, viral infection of unspecified site, type 2 diabetes mellitus, and gastric ulcer. Importantly, diabetes and hypertension were identified by both diagnostic and drug use signals. This suggests that routinely collected drug use data can reflect major components of hospital disease burden, especially for diseases that require long-term pharmacological treatment. The 2024 comparison continued to show consistency between the two models. The top four matched diseases were essential hypertension, unspecified diabetes mellitus, gastric ulcer, and type 2 diabetes mellitus. A notable change was that chronic ischemic heart disease became more visible among leading conditions. From a pharmacy management perspective, this shift suggests sustained demand for antidiabetic and cardiovascular medicines. It also shows how combined routine data can help hospitals respond to real-world changes in care demand. This slide summarizes the digital health interpretation. ICD-10 codes, drug utilization records, and admission timing are routine data inputs. After weekly aggregation, ARIMA provides short-term forecasting signals, and the output can support medicine availability, inventory planning, and formulary adjustment. The safety layer is also important. When demand signals are detected early, hospitals can reduce supply risk and protect treatment continuity. In short, ICD-10 explains what patients are treated for, while drug use data show what medicines are consumed. Together, they form a stronger real-world evidence base for smart monitoring in hospital pharmacy. There are several limitations. This was a single hospital study, so generalizability is limited. The observation period was short, which may reduce forecasting stability. ICD-10 data may be affected by documentation and coding quality, while drug utilization may be influenced by prescribing behavior, supply availability, reimbursement, and adherence. Therefore, ARIMA should be interpreted as a supportive short-term forecasting tool, not a definitive prediction model. The next steps are to extend the time series, validate the approach across multiple hospitals, use prescription-level analytics, and develop a dashboard for pharmacy decision support. To conclude, integrating ICD-10 and drug utilization data can provide complementary real-world evidence for forecasting pharmaceutical demand in chronic and metabolic diseases. The approach supports adaptive formulary management, medicine availability, and patient-centered pharmaceutical care. More broadly, it creates a practical foundation for smart monitoring of medicine demand using routine hospital data, which fits well with digital health and real-world evidence priorities in pharmacy. These are the key references supporting the disease burden context, ARIMA forecasting approach, and real-world evidence framework. Thank you for your attention. I welcome any questions and comments.